We're going to talk about three simple types of graphs in this video. So we're going to talk about dot plots, stem and leaf plots, and scatter plots. So for the first one, the dot plots, our example here, we have the high temperature for a 15-day period in degrees Fahrenheit. So we just have 15 data values. Now a dot plot is as simple as it sounds. I've labeled our x-axis here with the temperatures that we have. So our lowest value is 71, our highest one is 85. And for each data value, we're just going to put a dot above that number on our number line. So for 80 here, we'll just go to 80 and put a dot. Okay, for 77, we'll put a dot. 81, we put a dot. 85, 73. Now when we get to a repeat, we just put another dot above it. So 73, another 80, 72, 83. So really not complicated, we're just putting a dot for each data value. And that's why it's called a dot plot. So you can see that this really isn't a sophisticated graph, but it does show us the overall picture shape of the graph. So this one doesn't have a shape as far as skewed right, skewed left. It has kind of two modes. We can see that it has two places that both have three of them at 73 and 80. But other than that, we can't tell too much. Okay, our next one is a stem and leaf plot. And this one isn't what you're used to with a graph as far as looking at a picture, but it's really just to help us organize the numbers. So the stems are going to be our tens places that occur in our data set, and the leaves are the ones places. So you'll have something over here in the leaves for each data set. So one thing that's helpful the first time you're making a stem and leaf plot is to order your values. So here 69 is our lowest, and then we have 74, 75, 76, 78, 2 81s, 83, 89, and 94. So our stem, we're going to start off, we have our 60s, okay? So we're going to put a 6 for 60s, and our only data value is 69, so we put a 9 in the leaf. So 69. Okay, our next stem will be for the 70s, so notice we have from 74 to 78, so we're just going to put for each of these data values the ones column, the ones value in the leaves. So 4 for 74, 5 for 75, 6 for 76, and 8 for 78. Then we have the values that are in the 80s. Now when there are two values, you will put that number twice. So since we have two 81s, we'll put two ones down, and then a 3 for 83, and a 9 for 89. And our last data value is 94, so we put the 9s in the stem column and the 4 in the leaves column. So that's our stem and leaf plot. And this is helpful if you have a really big data set. You could save space and put all of the values there. You can also start to see the shape. We see that we only have one in the 60s. We have a bunch in the 70s and 80s, and then it goes down to the 90s. Okay, and our last graph that we're going to talk about are scatter plots. And this is when we have pairs of values or paired data. And this is going to be just like plotting in an X and Y axis. So our first value, so these are students taking two tests over the same material. And so our first test, we're going to put this along the X-axis or horizontal axis, and the second test along the y-axis. Okay, and it'll be just like plotting XY pairs. So when our first value here is 57 and 83, we'd, along the x-axis, kind of guess where 57 is, and then we'd go up to about where 83 is. Then we have 58, 85, 60, 52, 63. And by hand it really is a lot of estimating. 71, 58, 72, 78, 76, 87, 77, 79, 78, 62, and 87, 67. So this is going to help us talk about correlation later on, and our graphing calculator will also make those. We'll talk about that, all about that in chapter 10. But right now just know that when we have our first set, that will go along the x-axis, and our second set will go along the y-axis.